Hello guys, welcome to Room on Fire's preview for day 3. The room's not actually on fire, but it's pretty hot because HenryG's here with me.
Look at this. What an outfit.
It's not denim, I'm not impressed.
Anyway, so what are we doing today, Matthew?
Well, it's tonight and we're talking about tomorrow,
Okay.
which is usually what we do at the end of a day. And tomorrow is a big one because it's the best of 3 decider matches for who finishes second in each group. We know what the bracket's going to be, so we know who they'll play as well, which is a little bit interesting. We can touch on that a little bit later. But there's some big names in these decider matches, and already some huge storylines. I mean, first and foremost, we're guaranteed the 2 challenger teams go through. Liquid, pretty nuts today that they actually beat Fnatic. They make it out, and Envious goes out in dead last.
Who would have saw Liquid beating Fnatic here? Like, the #1 team in the world right now, 6 tournaments in a row. Going up against Liquid of Adren as well, that's kind of nuts, right? But anyway, that's it for the tangent. We kick it off with the first game in the bracket tomorrow. NIP versus Mouse Sports. Obviously NIP, the big storyline going into that one is obviously playing with Threat, the coach. He hasn't been bad for them, but he hasn't been anything sensational. They definitely have been struggling so far.
Your phone's messing up. We're supposed to have the bracket in front of me. I don't want to see your Tinder messages. But yes, I'm sorry. cut, done. No, you're right though. Having Threat in the lineup, I think is it's been challenging. And one of the interesting things about the arena is because there's 16 teams in such a confined space, there's not as much warm-up space available as the teams might have otherwise liked. So there is warm-up computers here, but they're only available to you in certain time slots. So obviously you get the game that's going on. If you're playing in the next game, you can set up ahead of time and you can get warmed up the way it's set up in the studio. But before that, to get in the side booths where the other teams can warm up, if you're not 2 games ahead, that other team has the rights to it. So Threat, who hasn't played in a long time, hasn't had as much, I guess, playtime as he might have liked. You'd think he could come here and grind it out even and just DM and stuff.
He said he won maybe 2 days before coming into this tournament. And obviously he hasn't been playing competitive CS. He's been probably playing every now and then in the evening and stuff like that, but nowhere near the level he should be playing at, right?
And that's the thing. I mean, it's not like they're going to come in here and sit and scrim through all of this time, but at least he can go and work on mechanics. He can work on smokes and stuff like that. So that is a bit of an issue. That said, I mean, I won't exactly call him a deadweight. I think he was fairly decent. He had some high impact in their first game against Flipside. Yeah. And today against LG, no one really had high impact. So it's not like you can pinpoint
They started off pretty well. It looked like there was something to work with there, but as soon as LG got rolling, they kind of fell away from him completely, wasn't it? Mirage is not a good map to face that team on. And they did what they could, but unfortunately did get punished pretty severely there. But tomorrow they go up against Mouse Sports, right? So Mouse Sports, they've had their ups and downs, but today it was a game they looked like they were completely out of, right? They were 12-3 down. We thought, wow, this is it. Mouse Sports are actually going out.
And we totally did. Yanko was like on complete tilt by it, like big old fan of Mouse Sports that he is. And once again, we see like just the power that Nico possesses. Next, can't go without saying he had a good game. He showed up late to help out and contribute to that. I mean, one slip up in any given round in triple overtime, and it's a completely different story. But I mean, the resilience from them is definitely notable. And the fact
J
that
had those, they're crazy like retakes as well.
That's true.
3-on-1 and stuff like that. So I just wanted to touch on him, give him a shout out.
He
gets a rough time recently
true.
as well. Like he had and some inconsistencies. Didn't have the best game, but the very high impact moments that kind of got him back into
Absolutely.
it.
And just to point out the fact that everyone says like, oh, Mouse Sports struggled. They struggled. Flipside also put Nip into overtime. So the fact that Mouse Sports went there, I mean, this is still even. And like you say, Nip with the stand-in, there was a real chance that Mouse Sport could actually take that from them. I really think that it's a possibility. If Pith was here, I'd say not so much. I think Nip's out of the group quite cleanly. But this, I mean, that's a tough prediction. That might be the hardest prediction of all of them to make tomorrow.
I think Mouse Sports will take it pretty convincingly.
Really? So you're actually going that route?
In a best of 3, if it was a best of 1, I'd say NIP could probably take that. But the discipline of Mouse Sports, they have a deep map pool there. NIP will be struggling, right? So far, as best of 1s, you can ban if you're the highest seeded team, right? And then you get to almost force it into the direction you want to go. They haven't played the whole map pool of Threat. They've played 2 games so far, so they're going to have to go in and play against the best of 3 in Mouse Sports, a very drilled team, and they have obviously going against Nico as well. And he, like we say, if he turns up to every single game there is, right? There's no denying he's going to turn up. He is going to turn up. And although it will be a close game, I don't think it'll be a complete run over. I do see it being a 2-0 in favour of Mouse Sports, just because
2-0 as well.
Just because of the Threat thing. Like, he hasn't played bad or anything, but it's so difficult to bring him into a major. Someone who hasn't played in the team. He's essentially a ringer, right? He may be the coach and knows the tactics, but still implementing him properly into the team is such a problem.
The crazier part about that is that would mean we have 3 challenger teams.
Yeah,
that move through, and it means the Mouse Sports brand, who took the core of Penta, which was our most recent challenger team, not to continue through. Mouse Sports got the invite 2 majors ago because they took that core. They finally get that brand though. It's not just a German team, it's the Mouse Sports brand finally making it. That would be pretty cool actually.
It's kind of cool that this is the year we kind of brought the minor system in as well, and now we're kind of like having these challenger teams actually getting through and showing that they can compete at this level. It's kind of an interesting path, but I guess, and I've given my prediction. How do you see it in terms of?
I mean, that would be a tough pill to swallow for NIP because obviously they've been struggling. Even at the last major, during their struggles, they made a semifinal, but I think there was some other factors that played into that. There were some people that really kind of choked and didn't play that well.
Yeah.
I think, again, this is the toughest aspect of this. NIP's done everything in their power to try and revamp themselves. They've brought in Threat, who literally said in an interview he's changed absolutely everything. I think it shows. I think their execution and their discipline in the game is much better. But then Pith can't show up. He can't be here.
Literally.
And they have to play with...
Can't actually be here.
Yeah. By law, not allowed to be here. But they play with Threat. And then you think, like, all right, this looks good for NIP. Katowice didn't make it through the groups, but were competitive in every game they played. And it looked like this is something that we could look forward to. This could be a storyline. Maybe NIP fans, because there's a lot of them, can finally be happy again. Right. And it's kind of a sad way if they didn't make it through.
If you remember, Mouse Sports is actually in their group at that event as well, and they actually dropped to them as well. So just in terms of when they had Pit there, that's what they lost to them there. And going into this one, they're going with Threat. I think that's just going to be an extra factor that's going to give Mouse Sports a huge edge here. So just to cut it short on that group, we're kind of rambling on, but Mouse Sports to me 2-0. Do you agree? What would you say?
I'll say 2-1 Mouse Sports, and it pains me to say it because I'm just like anyone. It would be a fantastic story to see NIP revitalized, and it would be demoralizing for them not to get through in this, and then they have to kind of go back and sit on that. But that's a tough one. I'll go with the 2-1.
So then, Matt, a less interesting game, I would say. It's got some romance to it. Like FaZe have had a very difficult time in the last couple of months. They have shown they do have top players and they can definitely perform at a world-class level, but haven't really shown it at this event. They go up against Fnatic tomorrow.
And this is the only game that we're guaranteed to lose another Legends team. And FaZe had a huge deep run. I think this is a done conclusion. I'm not going to dramatize this one at all. I think it's 2-0 Fnatic. I think it's gotten written all over it. Fnatic, they build themselves into tournaments.
Yeah.
And it's always the sign of like a true team. Thorne always says this. Teams that start off slow and can build up under pressure and get to that crescendo of a tournament, in the final of a tournament, are the ones you have to watch. And I think Fnatic in this is just going to absolutely obliterate FaZe. I think their struggles are definitely starting to show.
Yeah.
You know, I won't say they're envious level, but there's already roster changes rumored within that lineup, and I think they're going to have a huge problem.
There's a lot of roster changes coming up in general in Counter-Strike, but yes, especially I would agree.
World shuffle.
A massive world shuffle coming up here. But yeah, FaZe, just to reiterate Matt's sentiments there, it's going to be a 2-0. If they get cash or something like that, they can be relatively good on that map. I think they may be able to get to double figures on both maps, but ultimately Fnatic will have a really reasonable, easy time stiffing this up. They normally drop a map each tournament, and today it was Dust 2 against Liquid.
Liquid. Best case scenario for Liquid.
Oh, absolutely. But the winner of that game will go on to face Astralis.
Yeah, that's huge as well. Just to touch on that, because obviously we'll whoever talks to you tomorrow, whichever lovely gentleman it is, we'll preview those brackets. But that's huge. That's a potential final matchup that you're going to see in the quarterfinals.
Anyway, so CLG versus Gambit. One of the less interesting games, I would say, in terms of like the big names. We've had so many big clashes so far. This is more the lower end of the scale, but CLG, they looked pretty promising today, but ultimately did lose. But Gambit, a hot package this tournament, I would say.
Yeah, double challenger bracket here. So this is the group that's guaranteed we're gonna have a challenger, and not only that, we're guaranteed a challenger team in the semi because the winner of this plays Liquid. Mm-hmm. Gambit's definitely the underdog. I can't remember who it was now for the life of me that said that in an interview before the tournament. That Gambit was someone in Europe, and don't quote me on it. It's I think it might have been Blade actually.
Okay.
Either way, it's true. I mean, these guys have decent timings. Their CT side's quite good, and no one can understate their success in this tournament. I mean, they're in this. Yes, okay, came from the lower bracket to do it, but they're in this best of 3 against CLG, and I think this is extremely hard to predict as well.
Well, they've knocked out the world champions.
Yes.
So do we feel that that's going to be enough to take down CLG?
It's definitely going to be momentum. I think it's definitely something that they can build upon. I'm going to go CLG 2-1 on this, but I think Gambit's an extremely fearful opponent for them.
From what I saw from Gambit today, I think if they can just go back to the hotel tonight, it was obvious their executions were very lacking there. Like some of the timings and stuff like that, they seemed they were panicking. But in terms of raw aim, Waylander, man.
Waylander was sick. That's a huge point.
That guy was massive. If he can turn up tomorrow, I'm going 2-0 Gambit. I'm going there.
2-0.
2-0 Gambit.
I mean, it is a tough one to call because CLG does still have struggles. They always play their opposition close. Doesn't matter if they're playing Fnatic or they're playing, I don't know, someone in North America that's not that good. They always come out with like these 16-14 score lines or something. Like, it's still ridiculously close. I want to believe, man. I want to believe we're going to have a USA semifinals. So I think I'm going to go with CLG. But I do, and I said it during the qualifier as well, I think Gambit is a damn good team. I really do. So
very,
it
very
wouldn't surprise me.
It's crazy, like all the different countries like Russia, Kazakhstan, and a Finnish guy there as well. Why not? And yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Gambit just from what I saw from Waylander today. If he can replicate that performance there, Adren was great as well. He looked very strong. Like they got the final 2 kills in a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
He looked great. Anyway, moving on then. So Virtus.Pro versus G2. We've seen. This is a rematch, obviously.
Yeah.
VP have already beaten them, battered them 16-1. And we saw.
And it's interestingly, I'm just going to note this, it's our only rematch of all the groups.
Yeah, it's a good. And the thing as well, so G2, we saw them today, right? They looked incredibly strong. It was like night and day from what we saw against VP. Like, Existence looking amazing. Smiths as well, both AWPing, both just going absolutely ham. Looked very confident indeed on Dust 2. But that's the thing, right? That's Dust 2.
Smiths' map, yeah.
This is Dust 2. That's one of the maps. If they get rolling on, they get confident, they are going to cause that kind of impact. And we saw Cloud9 not really showing up whatsoever. They looked very poor, I have to say. They were almost playing into the hand of G2 there. Like, they weren't even approaching the defaults in the correct manner. They were actually just leaving the whole B tunnels open.
Scream just walked in.
It was very hard to tell. It's hard to gauge how well a team's doing. You're playing against a very weakened side like Cloud9 in that respect.
Absolutely. And going into this, I mean, the one thing that we can say is that G2, they got crushed by Virtus.Pro in that first game, 16-1 train.
Yep.
But G2, again, you said it, they slaughtered Cloud9. So they're going to be feeling much better about themselves. They're going to have more confidence than they would have had otherwise. And in turn, Virtus.Pro just had an absolute struggle against Na'Vi. So maybe in terms of momentum and confidence, it's the other way around now. But it's best of 3. I'm not ruling Virtus.Pro back into their slump just yet. I think this is going to be a very, very close game as well. Do I think G2's escaped the Titan curse?
I don't know.
If I want to go with my heart, I really actually think G2's going to win this, but I think Virtus.Pro should. I think that they've been the better team in this tournament. Obviously, the head-to-head shows that they struggled against Na'Vi, but if you just look at the fundamentals of how they played against Na'Vi, it wasn't like they were that terrible. They just couldn't get the economy going.
I feel like it was just a bad day in the office for G2 on that 16-1.
Yeah,
they are a decent trained team. 16-1 is a huge anomaly. That shouldn't be happening, right? Regardless of even the form they're in right now. But from what I've seen today, and I've seen how hungry these guys are, I feel like it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be 2-1 in favour of G2. Just if they can keep that level up and not have those blunders before, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Train again. I don't think they'll be too scared to play it. Like, they'll be able to watch the demos now and realise what the hell went wrong and see which all nuances let them down. But the key storyline here is whoever wins this game goes to play Luminosity. We've got a very easy bottom bracket, it has to be said. They're almost guaranteed a final here, right?
Yeah, so Luminosity could almost go straight through. I mean, I will say this, which is an interesting point. If they meet Liquid in the semis, look, I'm going to favor Luminosity every time, but Liquid has always kind of been, in some ways, the North American kryptonite for Luminosity. They were the first team to beat them in ESCA ever when they came to North American soil, and they've had a history of being able to somehow find wins against them. So there's a storyline there, but not so much with Luminosity's newer roster. So I don't know. For North American fans, something to look out for.
Well, I think that's everything covered for tomorrow. We will be casting game number 3, I think.
So should we just recap?
Yeah.
You say Mouse Sports.
Okay, so game number 1, Nip versus Mouse Sports. I say Mouse Sports.
I say Mouse Sports.
2-0.
2-1.
And then we've got Fnatic versus FaZe. I'm saying 2-0 in favour of Fnatic.
2-0 Fnatic.
And then CLG versus Gambit. I said 2-0 Gambit.
2-1 CLG.
And then Virtus.Pro versus G2. 2-1 G2 for me. And then you got
I'm cut the camera. I don't even want to say this one. I don't know. 2-1 G2. I got to say something. You know what? No, I don't know. Tweet me that I'm an idiot. I can't make a prediction. I'm done here.
Thank you very much for watching. This has been the Day 3 prediction with me, HenryG and Sadokist. Check us out tomorrow with the next video, and we'll see you then.